Tom Brady's jump to the Buccaneers is the idea that he was smart to get away from the loaded AFC, to get away from teams like the Ravens and Chiefs. I was on First Take yesterday, and that came up, and Stephen A. Smith was not buying it at all. Listen to this.
I don't want to hear a damn soul talking about how Tom Brady should not have stayed in New England or gone someplace else because you want to avoid Patrick Mahomes or you want to avoid Lamar Jackson or something like that. That is nonsensical to me. It makes no sense. It goes against the very thing that competitive fervor is supposed to represent. I can understand you don't want to go to an inferior team, but I'm sorry, as an individual, you shouldn't be avoiding individuals when it comes to competition. To be the man, you got to beat the man.
So Steve and I actually went at it yesterday, and he will join us in an hour to continue this conversation. But Dan Orlovsky, you were one of the people that I've heard saying that it was wise or would be wise and then ultimately was for Brady to get out of the AFC. What do you think of what Stephen A. said?
Yeah, I mean, ignorance is always afraid of change, Greeny. And Tom Brady wasn't ignorant in the fact that those two up-and-coming quarterbacks and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are coming, and so are their football teams. And so the best way for him to go back to the Super Bowl, the easiest route for him to go back to the Super Bowl and win the championship was going to be out of that conference. Now, that being said, Stephen A. Smith, I wish he was sitting right here with us right now, because Tom Brady is still the man. Like, there is no, he's got to go beat somebody to become the man. He is the man. He's gone to 8 out of the last 9 AFC championships, 4 out of the last 6 Super Bowls, winning 3 of them. So Tom Brady has not passed the baton to anybody. The reality is, when he took the step back and looked at what was the best way for him to win a championship, it was going to be to see those guys in the end result and face them rather than have to go through them to get there, Greeny. So, like, listen, Tom Brady's still the man. Make no bones about it. This is not Denzel Washington passing the baton to Michael B. Jordan just yet, okay? They still have to go hunt him down.
What do you think, Swaggo?
Patrick Mahomes is the man, period. That's what we've been talking about for the last year. That's what we talked about, his opportunity to get the ball back in the playoffs. They would have won the game. Patrick Mahomes has taken the throne to being the best quarterback in the NFL. We all know that. That's belaboring a point that everyone on television has ever said. And I agree with Stephen A. I've said it on this show. Like, Tom Brady is not afraid. And this is really in defense of Tom Brady. Now, maybe he did make the decision to avoid Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson in the AFC. But I wouldn't think that Tom Brady would be afraid to play those guys before getting to a Super Bowl. Maybe he took the easier route. I just talked about him being 40 and wanting to get to the Super Bowl and going to Tampa. Obviously, he has to face Drew Brees. That's not going to be easy either. But the fact to say that Tom Brady was afraid to go play against Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, if Tom Brady told me that, I would look at Tom Brady differently. But I'm sure, and I want to have the confidence that Tom Brady just decided to go to Tampa because he thought that was the best place for him to play football.
We will have Stephen A. In this conversation, and we'll do it in an hour, so you'll get a chance, you guys, to talk with him about it. What I said to him, and I'll say it to both of you, is, first of all, there's nothing easy about winning a Super Bowl, regardless of what team and which conference you play in. And I always tell my kids, life is hard enough on its own. Don't make it harder unnecessarily. If you can find a slightly easier path to an extraordinarily difficult goal to attain, go ahead and take it. That's not being cowardly. That's being smart. Now, Brady, of course, replaces Jameis Winston, who led the NFL in passing last year with more than 5,000 yards and became the first player in Tampa history to reach that threshold. But that obviously isn't the whole story, or he would still be there. He also led the league with 30 interceptions, which made him the first player in NFL history with 30 touchdowns and 30 picks in a season. He was his own personal 30 for 30, as people joke all the time. So if this is it for Winston in a Buccaneers uniform, he is the only player to throw a pick six as his first and last pass attempt with the franchise in the last 40 years. He threw 7 pick sixes last year, the most in a season in NFL history. And you guys know that I'm sort of the last man standing on the Jameis Winston hill. I have not given up on him. But the question becomes, what is the right place for him to go now to ultimately reach whatever potential it is we believe he has? Marcus, I will start with you.
I heard, I think it was Shefty or somebody said it, but I agree. I think Pittsburgh. And I'm thinking Pittsburgh because of Mike Tomlin and culture. We saw Mike Tomlin win games with Duck Hodges at quarterback. We saw him stay in games with Mason Rudolph. And obviously, Big Ben Roethlisberger is there, who is kind of in that same sloshy vein as Jameis Winston. Obviously, not throwing the interceptions, but big physical quarterbacks, that type of offense that likes to throw the ball downfield, takes chances. Pittsburgh may be a good landing spot for Jameis to go sit. I believe this firmly, Greeny, and you saying you're the last man down on the hill. I'm not sure if I'm standing up there with you, but I will say I've seen guys benefit from having the opportunity to step away from the game and actually watch it being played and have an opportunity to diagnose things, see things in a different light than going out there with the pressure of starting. Maybe that's what Jameis needs to invigorate his career and try to understand why not to put the ball in the harm's way. But that, to me, that would be a good landing spot. It wouldn't be any pressure for him to play, and Roethlisberger is built similar to Jameis Winston.
What do you think, Dan?
I agree. I've warmed up to Pittsburgh for Jameis Winston. My reasoning is this. We're obviously in a very unique state when it comes to the NFL in the offseason, right? I don't think it's a good time because Jameis Winston, the reality is he needs to kind of remake his career, reset his career in the NFL. And it's just not going to be a good offseason to go do that because you don't want to go sign somewhere and kind of be the presumptive starter in an offseason where you don't know when you're going to be allowed in the building. You don't know when you're going to be really able to sit down with your coaches and start studying that playbook. Go somewhere where you don't have the pressure of having to play right now. The pressure of having to play and win games as the starting quarterback without any kind of offseason. Go to Pittsburgh and understand that my job is to come here and get my feet wet again and learn this offense and not have the pressure of going out every single Sunday and leading our team to a win. And because of the uniqueness of this offseason, I think it's best for Jameis Winston to find a place where he can be a backup and learn and breathe without the pressure of having to win football games. The reality is this, Greeny, he's got to learn from his mistakes of the past, and he needs to have the opportunity to apply them somewhere in the future. I just think it's best for him to do that as a backup role right now.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I've come around to that. I'm not giving up on Jameis, but I do think, look, the guy's been the starter since week 1 of his rookie year. The opportunity to learn behind a veteran is probably a good idea. Frankly, in Tampa behind Tom might be the best, but that seems impossible. Meanwhile, how about this veteran? Pat McAfee is going to join us coming up next and answer the question, is this guy the one who is going to lead his beloved Indianapolis Colts to the promised land? We'll talk about that and more with McAfee after this sneaky Hembo moment. Which coach-quarterback tandem did Bill Belichick and Tom Brady beat the most times, including playoffs? That's the question. The answer is next. Get Up on ESPN.